The ones who walk through storms without breaking don't just survive, they shake the skies that tried to drown them. They didn't know that trying to break you would backfire. They weren't just fighting you, they picked a fight with the universe itself. Now they're catching heat they can't handle. They thought they were silencing you, but all they did was spotlight you. They whispered lies behind your back, and now the whole world can hear the truth without you even speaking. They underestimated the quiet power of the chosen. Before we go deeper, like and subscribe if this already speaks to your spirit. Doing that helps this message reach more chosen ones like you. When you engage, you're not just helping yourself. You're sending a signal through the algorithm that this truth needs to be heard. And trust me, every time this message gets out, it rattles the ones who thought they'd already buried your voice. Now, listen closely. Chosen one, there has never been anyone like you. Your energy walks into a room before you do. People can feel you even when you're silent. You're unforgettable. And that's not by accident. It's not ego. It's design. Your presence wasn't meant to blend in. It was meant to disrupt, to awaken, to shift. There are people right now who can't stop thinking about you. Friends turned strangers. Strangers acting like they know you. Some are inspired, quietly admiring, wishing they had your courage. But others? They're sweating, nervous, restless. Why? Because they know you're everything they pretend to be. You don't need to try. You just are. That's what haunts them. You're not fighting for attention. They are. You're not chasing validation. They're chasing your shadow. And the wildest part? They could have learned from you. They could have healed with you. But they chose envy. And now, they're choking on the silence you left behind. Don't you ever doubt the power you carry. Don't you ever think you're alone. That whisper of doubt in your head, that's not your voice. It's the echo of everything they tried to plant in you. Rip it out. They were never ready for someone like you. Even the universe took its time preparing your path because it knew the impact you'd have. Your enemies aren't just annoyed. They're haunted. Haunted by how unfazed you are. Haunted by how, no matter what they try, you rise different every time. Like wildfire that refuses to die, you burn through every lie, every fake smile, every setup they placed in your way. And still, you shine. They thought taking your name out their mouth would silence your story. But your story is written in energy. It's moving through timelines, showing up in dreams, bouncing through the thoughts of people who swore they were done with you. But the universe, it never was. You were chosen because you're uncopyable. Not better than everyone, but impossible to be anyone else. You are the glitch in their matrix, the line they can't cross, the mirror that shows them what they'll never become. So stay sharp, stay grounded, but never, ever shrink. This world has never seen someone like you, and it never will again. If you've felt that pressure lately, like eyes on you, energy shifting, people acting strange, it's because they feel you rising. The ones who once laughed, they're watching now. The ones who doubted, they're studying your every move. That's what happens when the chosen one walks in purpose. So before we go deeper, drop the number 77 in the comments if you know the heat you carry has their whole spirit sweating. Every like, every share tells the algorithm to push this message further, so other chosen ones know they're not alone. And now, let's get into it, step by step. If this is for you, you'll feel it in your bones. Number 1, they tried to dim your light, but all they did was burn themselves. You can't fake being chosen. You can mimic the style, steal the words, even copy the moves, but the crown never fits a thief. The universe knows who it handed the fire to. Let's be real, what they hated wasn't you. It was the fact that no matter how much they studied you, mirrored you, smiled in your face, and copied your every move, they still couldn't be you. That's what made them bitter. That's what's got them sweating. You're not just walking through life, you're walking with weight, chosen weight, the kind that shakes rooms and rearranges energy without saying a word. And now that you're stepping into that truth, really wearing it like armor instead of hiding from it, you're making their illusions crack. You're waking up the sleeping ones, and the fakes can't stand the sound of your footsteps. This isn't about ego. This is about alignment. When the universe chooses you, it moves for you. It shifts timelines, bends roads, and blocks traps before you even see them. They weren't going up against you. They were going up against the system that made you, the current that carries you. That's why they're losing. Let me tell you something they never expected. You were never meant to blend in. Your energy wasn't built to be background noise. You're the frequency they can't ignore. Even when they try to tune you out, something in them still listens. They scroll through your life, trying to figure out why they can't look away. And every failed attempt to discredit you only reminds them how undeniable you are. Why do people stare when you walk in a room? Why do they remember your name, even when you've barely said a word? It's because you carry presence, not performance. That's what separates you. Most people perform and still go unnoticed. But you just exist, and the whole atmosphere bends. And here's the thing, some of you have forgotten that. You've questioned your worth because of how many people tried to discard you, ghost you, lie on you, or use you. You sat there wondering, what's wrong with me? When the real question should have been, why does my light shake people who claim to be solid? Let me remind you, you were never too much, they were just too empty. They needed you small because your full self made their masks fall off. The power of being chosen doesn't come with a quiet life. It comes with friction. It comes with being misunderstood. It comes with betrayal that breaks you open so your light can leak through the cracks. But even then, even bleeding, you glow. That's why they watch. That's why they whisper. That's why they fear. Your authenticity, it's a weapon, not one you use against people, but one that exposes them. When you walk in truth, everything false starts to tremble. That's what they felt. That's why they flipped. Your realness lit up the fake in their world. You held up a mirror, and all they saw was lack. So they blamed you for their reflection. And let's not even get into energy. Your energy is ancient. It's rare. It doesn't just walk in. It announces itself. It changes moods. It lifts some, breaks others, reveals truth without speaking. And you never had to force that. That's just what happens when you're built from something real. Now let's pause for a second, because some of you still question it. You still ask, why me? Why do people either love you or resent you with no in-between? Why does it feel like you're alone when you've done nothing but show up with love? Because chosen doesn't mean celebrated. It means set apart. And being set apart means some people won't understand you because they're not meant to sit at your table. Stop begging for connection with people who are only meant to observe. Stop shrinking to fit spaces the universe already told you to outgrow. That discomfort you feel, that's your wings stretching. Let them. The ones who tried to dim your light thought they were controlling your shine, but all they did was teach you how to glow in the dark. They made you strong. They made you silent, but watchful, alone, but never empty, doubtful, but never disconnected. The universe never left you. It was quiet because it was setting the stage. And now it's your moment. And they can feel it. That's why they're sweating. That's why they're trying to come back. That's why they're posting, lurking, throwing shade in plain sight. They're not mad at what you're doing. They're mad you're still doing it without them. Let them sweat. Let them feel the burn of knowing they couldn't stop what was written. Let them watch as the very energy they tried to destroy becomes the fire that lights the world around you. Chosen one, your authenticity cannot be copied, your energy cannot be drained, your path cannot be blocked, and your presence, it's not just a vibe, it's a whole storm wrapped in stillness, a quiet power, the kind that makes noise without sound. So stop doubting, stop playing small, stop apologizing for the glow they never earned. They played with the system, but the system remembers its own. And you, my friend, are the glitch they'll never fix. Number 2, your presence is the problem they can't solve. Some people don't hate you because of what you said or did. They hate the way the room changes when you arrive. You don't need to announce yourself. You don't need to prove anything. When you walk in, the temperature shifts. The atmosphere tightens. Eyes find you, even the ones that swore they were done watching. That's not coincidence. It's your presence. That thing you carry without trying. The kind of energy that exposes everything fake in the room just by being there. People feel it. Some are drawn to it like light in a cave, ready to awaken and grow. Others, they get uncomfortable, restless, agitated, and instead of looking inward, they project outward. They can't name it, but they can't ignore it either. That's the curse and blessing of being chosen. You're a living reminder of what they're not. You walk with something ancient in your bones. It's not just confidence, it's clarity. You're not pretending. You're not performing. You're simply aligned. And in a world drowning in filters and fakery, your raw, unfiltered truth is disruptive. It cuts through the noise. That's why they want to quiet you. But here's the part they don't understand. They can't match your presence because they didn't pay the price for it. They didn't bleed in the dark. They didn't rise alone. They didn't cry, rebuild, get betrayed, and still choose to stand. You did. And that energy, that's not something you buy or borrow. It's something you earn. And because they can't replicate it, they want to ruin it. Some will copy you until they choke on the pieces. Others will try to convince people you're not who you say you are, hoping to drag your name through the mud just to feel taller. But what they fail to realize is, your silence is louder than their noise. You don't have to clap back. The universe does that for you. The truth is, Most people are addicted to attention. They'll change their whole identity for a few moments of applause, but not you. You stand rooted in something deeper. You're not chasing the spotlight. You are the light. That's what makes your presence unshakable. That's why your walk, your stillness, even your absence hits different. They confuse humility with weakness. But the way you move, it's not quiet because you're unsure. It's quiet because you're aware. You know who you are. You've seen too much, felt too much, lost too much to ever need external validation again. That calm on the outside, that's not emptiness. That's a storm under control. So let them talk, let them plot, let them mimic. It won't matter. You can't clone essence, you can't fake alignment, and you can't destroy someone the universe refuses to abandon. To those chosen ones still questioning their own power, stop asking why your presence makes people act strange. Stop wondering why people turn cold after being warm, or try to bring you down after praising you. It's not about what you're doing wrong. It's about what your spirit stirs in them. You're a reflection, a reminder, a challenge. Your existence pushes them to face everything they're not ready to deal with. Your walk exposes their wounds. Your peace highlights their chaos. Your truth exposes their lies. That's why they watch. That's why they gossip. That's why they try to dim your flame while secretly studying your fire. It's not personal, it's energetic. They're not triggered by you. They're triggered by what you awaken in them. And still, you don't have to become bitter. You don't have to stoop down or retaliate. Your evolution is the clapback. Your glow is the revenge. Keep moving how you move, because the universe takes note of who touches the chosen. Every fake smile, every sneaky move, every attempt to block your shine, it all returns. That's not karma. That's universal balance. That's what happens when people play games with someone protected by alignment. So the next time someone stares a little too hard, the next time you feel energy shift when you enter a space, don't shrink. Remember, you're the frequency they can't decode, the page they can't rewrite, the presence they can't unfeel. You are the problem they'll never solve, and the solution only the awakened ones will ever recognize. Number 3. You became the mirror they couldn't handle. When you stop running from your own reflection, you stop letting broken people tell you who you are. Self-acceptance isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. And, chosen one, your realness is the loudest thing about you. You didn't fake your way to peace. You fought for it. You bled for it. You looked at every scar, every mistake, every version of yourself they tried to shame, and you chose to love it anyway. That's what they can't stomach. Because in a world full of performers, you show up with nothing but truth. No masks, no filters, just raw, honest, grounded you. And here's what makes them lose sleep. You're not just existing like that, you're thriving in it. You're proof that healing doesn't make you weaker. It makes you untouchable. They look at you and see everything they're scared to face in themselves. They wonder how you can walk with confidence when you've been through hell. They question how you're so at peace when you've lost more than most people could survive. What they don't understand is that your strength didn't come from applause. It came from isolation, from silence, from nights you cried and still chose not to quit. They don't see the process. They only see the presence. But that presence was built from pain you turned into purpose. You didn't just wake up one day loving yourself. You earned that love, piece by piece, day by day. And now, that unshakable self-acceptance. That's your force field. That's your edge. They can't fake what you've got. They try, but the energy always tells on them, because what you carry isn't surface level. It runs deep. It's in your voice, your posture, the way you don't flinch when people throw shade. You don't need to defend your authenticity. It defends itself. And let's be honest, your presence puts people on edge because you don't need their validation. You're not hungry for praise. You're not desperate to fit in. You're full on your own. That's terrifying to those still starving for attention and approval. You're everything they try to be on the outside, but actually are on the inside. And that's why they treat you like a threat. They think your confidence is arrogance. They think your peace is a front, because they can't wrap their minds around the idea that someone could be whole without playing pretend. But that's what you are. Whole. Not perfect, but whole. And that makes you powerful. Your impact isn't loud, it's lasting. You don't need to scream to be heard. Just being you shakes things loose in people. You're the walking reminder that you don't have to fit society's box to be brilliant, that you can be soft and strong, flawed and still phenomenal, that you can look at your darkness and not run from it. That's what makes you unstoppable. Because when you accept yourself, nobody can use your past against you. When you embrace your flaws, nobody can weaponize them. When you walk in truth, the lies fall apart on their own. Let this sink in. You became the mirror. The moment you started owning your light and your shadow, you started reflecting back to others what they refuse to face. And some people hate you for that. Not because you harm them, but because your presence tells them the truth about themselves. And truth, to the unhealed, feels like an attack. But don't let that make you shrink. Don't tone it down to make them comfortable. Your self-acceptance isn't just healing you, it's activating the chosen ones around you. It's setting off internal earthquakes in the ones who are still hiding, still pretending, still waiting for permission to love themselves. You gave yourself permission. You chose wholeness over approval. And in doing so, you became a blueprint, a beacon. So when they stare, when they gossip, when they try to pick you apart, like your authenticity is something fragile, remember this. They're not looking at you. They're looking at the parts of themselves they buried. They're not mad at your light. They're mad at their dimmer switch. And that's not your problem. Chosen one, the more you own yourself, the less they can own you. Keep walking. Keep glowing, because you didn't just find peace, you became it. And no storm outside of you can touch what you've built inside. Number 4, they threw dirt on your name, but you grew roots in it. Let them talk. Seeds don't argue with weeds. You've been the topic, the name they can't keep out their mouth. The headline in rooms you've never even walked into. But here's the irony. They keep trying to bury you with gossip, not realizing you're the kind that grows stronger underground. Chosen one, let's call it what it is. They're obsessed. They whisper. They watch. They twist stories to try and shrink your shine. Why? Because they've studied your every move and still can't figure out how you keep rising without playing their game. You don't fake it. You don't flatter the right people. You don't fit the mold. And that's why you haunt them. They can try to copy the way you speak, the way you dress, even the way you move. But there's one thing they'll never steal: your soul, that unshakable essence that radiates from within, that thing that makes people stop and stare without knowing why. That's not something you learned, it's something you are, and that's why they're pressed. Because while they're performing, you're becoming. While they're rehearsing lines to impress others, you're walking in truth that can't be bought or borrowed. And that level of self-possession, it rattles people who built their identity on trends and validation. They thought you needed approval like they do, but you've been too busy transforming to care about fitting in. You see, gossip is their only weapon, and it's dull, because no matter what they say, your actions scream louder. Your energy overrides the noise. People feel your presence, and it clears the air. You don't have to explain yourself. The universe handles receipts. Every time they lie, the truth still floats to the top, because what's real can't stay hidden, and what's fake can't last long. And let's talk about your resilience, because that's the part they really can't figure out. You've been dragged, doubted, laughed at. They thought you'd fold under pressure, but instead, you turned pressure into precision. You didn't just bounce back, you leveled up, quietly, strategically. And now, they don't know whether to hate you, fear you, or try to become you. They thought gossip would break you. What they didn't realize is, gossip is a form of promotion for the chosen. Every time they speak your name, they're casting a spotlight they can't control. And even in their attempts to dim you, they end up highlighting you. That's how the universe works when you're in alignment. It flips their plots into platforms. You broke out of the boxes they still live in. While they're competing, you're creating. While they chase followers, you build legacy. You stopped asking for seats at tables where the conversations are beneath you. Now you sit at your own, and everyone's trying to figure out how you got there without selling your soul. And here's the part that silences the room. You made peace with who you are. That kind of inner stability, that shakes people more than anything. You're not chasing trends. You are the trend. You're not faking confidence. You've earned it through storms. Your resilience is real. Your glow isn't curated. It's survived. So let them talk. Let them mimic, mock, twist, and project. You've already proven that storms don't scare you. They shape you. Gossip doesn't break you. It fuels your fire. You're not the fragile one in this story. They are. Because it takes strength to stand alone in truth, to keep going with knives in your back and a smile on your face. And you've done that more times than they'll ever know. You are untouchable, not because you haven't been through hell, but because you built a kingdom there. You planted your roots in chaos and came back blooming. And that's the part they'll never understand. They thought the dirt they threw would bury you, but it only gave you ground to grow. So stand tall, walk past the whispers, let your presence answer questions before you even speak. You are not just surviving gossip, you're thriving in spite of it. And every time they mention your name, they remind the world just how unforgettable you really are. Number 5. The universe doesn't miss. It returns everything. When the truth is your foundation, lies eventually collapse under their own weight. Let them talk. Let them twist the story, spin the narrative, and tell the world who they think you are. Because here's what they'll never be able to change. What's real? Your presence, your truth, your energy. All of it is untouchable, and whether they whisper in shadows or shout from rooftops, the outcome stays the same. You keep rising. They called it gossip, but it was really fear in disguise. It's easier to tear someone down than to face the work it takes to level up. And you've leveled up by simply being you. No filters, no performances. You didn't beg for praise or seek revenge. You just kept walking with your head high while the noise tried to trip you. That's why they're rattled. That's why they're loud. Because deep down, they know something. The universe doesn't play favorites, but it does play fair. Energy doesn't disappear. Intentions echo. And while they were too busy throwing shade, you were too focused building light. That's the difference. You weren't looking to retaliate. You knew that alignment brings results louder than any rumor ever could. And now, the same mouths that tried to bury you are being forced to watch you grow. Some of them will pretend they never doubted you. Others will stay stuck in their bitterness, watching from a distance they created. Either way, you win. Not because you fought harder, but because you let the system of balance handle it. This isn't about revenge. It's about return. What you give out comes back. What you plant grows. They threw out chaos and expected peace. You planted intention and harvested purpose. That's the game they didn't know they were playing. They thought they could hijack your narrative. But the truth always finds a way. It doesn't need defending. It doesn't need proof. It lives. It breathes. It reveals itself when the time is right. You stayed quiet while they made noise, not because you were weak, but because you understood. Real power doesn't beg to be seen. It shows up. It moves differently. It doesn't flinch when tested. You let the universe track the energy, and guess what? It's tracking everything. Every word, every motive, every behind-the-back whisper spoken in the dark will echo where it needs to. But don't get it twisted. This isn't about punishment. It's about clarity. The universe doesn't seek revenge. It seeks balance. And when that balance hits, people finally see the difference between the truth they avoided and the lies they believed. That's not your job to control. That's simply what happens when energy recalibrates. And that's why you don't need to explain yourself to anyone, because your outcome is the explanation. Your consistency is the comeback. You don't have to match their low frequency. You've outgrown the spaces where you once had to defend your name. And now, you let results speak in volumes no rumor can silence. They said you were done, finished, a fraud. But your journey didn't end when they turned their backs. It started. The turning point wasn't when they walked away. It was when you stopped needing them to stay. And here you are, elevated, clearer, stronger, the version of you they never saw coming. Now, some of them want to double back. Some are still watching from fake accounts, fake smiles, fake alliances. But it doesn't matter, because your focus isn't on the fallout, it's on the foundation you're building. You're not chasing justice. You are the justice. You're the example. You're the proof that truth, when protected, eventually prevails. So don't let their noise drag you back down. Stay on your path. Stay in your lane. Let the universe handle the background music while you stay center stage. Keep evolving. Keep showing up. Keep being the energy they said wouldn't last. you've already won. Not because they lost, but because you never stopped being real in a world full of fakes. Number 6. You're out of reach, but still in their mouth. They couldn't reach your level, so they tried to pull you down into the noise. But the higher you go, the quieter the lies sound. Let's be clear, they're not talking because you messed up. They're talking because you're moving up. Gossip is a spotlight disguised as shade. Every time your name leaves their lips, it confirms one thing. You're above what they can handle and beyond what they can become. They don't want to admit it, but their obsession is proof of your elevation. They hoped you'd get distracted. They wanted the rumors to shake you, to throw you off your path, to make you second-guess yourself. But here's the part they missed. You're already too far gone, too focused, too seasoned, too protected. You didn't come this far just to give up your power for a few insecure voices echoing in the background. You're not standing on shaky ground. You've built a whole foundation out of everything they thought would break you. And now, you're untouchable. They keep trying to drag your name down, but their arms are too short. That's what burns them the most. Not just that you're winning, but that they can't stop it. You're no longer reachable from the space they occupy. And the more they talk, the more they expose the truth. You're the center of their attention, even when you're nowhere near them. That's the irony. You're unbothered, unreachable, elevated, and yet, somehow, you're still the one taking up space in their conversations. It's because you've become the marker, the proof that it's possible to rise without faking it, to stand tall without stepping on others. And that truth, that reflection, it burns people still stuck in pretense. People don't gossip about those who don't matter. Your name is in rooms you've never entered because your energy speaks louder than their performance. That's how powerful your presence is. It's not just that they see you, it's that they feel you, even from a distance, even in silence. They hoped their words would define you, but your work, your walk, your growth, that's your definition. And all the noise, it's just wind, fleeting, weak, unfocused. You don't chase whispers, you don't respond to every echo. You keep rising. Because every time they tried to hold you down, you learned how to float. Every attempt to dim your light only taught you how to burn brighter with less. They don't understand that you're not just protected, you're aligned. The universe doesn't waste its energy guarding people who have no purpose. You're surrounded, covered, guided, not because you're lucky, but because you're chosen. And with that comes a certain kind of insulation. People can see you, they can talk, they can hate, but they can't touch. That's not arrogance, that's truth, that's energy in motion. And let's not forget, they wanted to distract you for a reason. You were too focused, too centered, too committed to your path. And they were idle. So what do the idle do? They target movement. You became the distraction they needed to avoid looking at their own lack of progress. But you didn't bite. You didn't stop. And now they're watching the very person they tried to tear down become everything they said you'd never be. Stay grounded in that truth. Let their noise be background music to your journey. You are the evidence that staying real in a world full of performance doesn't just work, it wins. Their gossip doesn't change your direction, it only highlights your position. If you weren't doing something right, they wouldn't care. If you weren't elevated, they wouldn't try so hard to reach for you. So let them keep your name active. Let them write stories while you build legacies. Let them gossip while you grow. Because you're not here to be liked, you're here to be legendary. And legends, they don't come down from the mountain to explain their climb. Number 7. Growth built you wings. They're mad. You stopped crawling. When your elevation exposes their stagnation, they'll call your distance disrespect. Let them. Growth comes with gravity, and when you rise, not everyone around you will clap. Some will cling, some will crumble, and some will curse your name for daring to outgrow the box they built for you. But here's the truth they don't want to hear. You didn't change out of ego. You changed because you had to. You saw the pattern, you felt the weight, you outgrew the mess, and you chose to move forward without dragging dead weight behind you. That decision, that clarity, that separation is what has them talking now. But let's be real, haters don't hate randomly. They target what reflects their own lack. Your growth shows them how stuck they really are. Your confidence reminds them of the self they've abandoned. You're walking proof that healing is possible, that transformation is real, and that no amount of gossip can drown out purpose. That's why they talk. That's why they twist your words. That's why they try to throw dirt on your name while watching your every move. But let them. Let them stay loud while you stay focused. Let them keep trying to pull you into drama while you're too busy pulling yourself into destiny. Because the truth is, they can't reach you anymore. Not mentally, not energetically, not vibrationally. You've elevated past the place where their noise holds power. It's not just about ignoring them. It's about understanding that their projections don't define your path. You're not here to win arguments. You're here to build something real. You felt the sting of being misunderstood, of being blamed for things you never did, of having people rewrite the story just to feel better about losing access to you. But even then, you never stopped rising. That's growth. Growth is when you could expose them, but don't. When you could clap back, but choose silence. Not because you're weak, but because peace is more valuable than petty wins. That kind of discipline, that kind of focus, that's rare. And rare always gets attacked by the average. They say you switched up, but no, you woke up. You stopped making excuses for bad energy. You stopped shrinking to make insecure people comfortable. You stopped entertaining conversations that drain you just to keep the peace in rooms where you were never truly welcomed. So now, they paint you as the villain. They call your distance arrogance. They call your silence fake. But really, they're watching someone who refused to stay stuck. You're not cold. You're just done. You're not mean, you're just healed. And your boundaries, they feel like betrayal to people who only loved your brokenness. Here's what they don't understand. The more you grow, the more the noise fades. You stop needing closure. You stop craving apologies. You stop giving your energy to people who only show up when they need to feel superior. You learn that some losses are wins in disguise. That's the cost of elevation, separation. You lose people who were only attached to your past self. You outgrow conversations. You become harder to access. And that frustrates people who were once comfortable manipulating your openness. Let them sit in that frustration. You're no longer in the business of explaining your growth to people committed to misunderstanding it. You've got goals. You've got purpose, you've got vision, and the ones trying to pull you into chaos, that's all they've got. Chaos. You don't match that frequency anymore. You don't vibe with bitterness. You're too busy building a version of yourself that doesn't flinch at old triggers. So yes, they're mad. They're confused. They're watching you glow without their approval, and it's driving them wild. But none of that has anything to do with you. That's their storm. You've already found your calm. Remember this, elevation always comes with separation. Not because you're better, but because you're becoming. And not everyone can come with you. Let them talk. Let them watch. Let them wonder how you keep moving forward so unbothered. The answer is simple. You stopped crawling back to what you've already outgrown, and you finally let your wings do what they were made for. Number 8. You became the blueprint. Now they copy what they can't create. They laugh when you're building. They gossip when you're rising. But when the results show up, all they can do is study your steps. Let's get one thing straight. While they were busy talking, you were building. While they wasted time throwing shade, you turned every shadow into strategy. And now they're scrambling to keep up with the version of you they swore would never make it. You didn't just rise, you changed the game by staying focused when it was easier to fold. Your financial independence, that wasn't handed to you. It was built on late nights, early mornings, sacrifices they never saw, and discipline they still don't understand. And now that you're walking in the rewards of that grind, they're shook. They try to act like you're lucky, but deep down, they know luck had nothing to do with it. This was work. This was vision. This was real leadership. And here's the part that eats them alive. You didn't have to scream to be heard. You didn't beg for seats at tables. You built your own. And now the ones who laughed are watching from outside the room, pressed that you made it without their validation. That's what burns them. Because what you've built represents everything they could have, but aren't willing to work for. It's easier for them to criticize you than to confront themselves. They'd rather label you lucky than admit they don't have the consistency or self-control to match your momentum. Your focus exposes their laziness. Your moves remind them of their excuses. You became the proof that it's possible to lead without faking it, to win without selling out. You stayed true to yourself and still elevated. And now they're frustrated, not just by what you have, but by who you've become. You are the example. You are the reminder. You are the reason they look in the mirror and feel the weight of their own untapped potential. Leadership isn't about followers. It's about energy. You walk like someone who owns their lane. You speak like someone who knows their value. You move like someone who no longer waits for permission. That presence, that control, that's real leadership. It's not loud, it's not performative, it's built from within, and they feel it. The more financially independent you become, the less access they have. Not just to your money, but to your time, your space, your energy. You stopped chasing clout and started chasing clarity. And in doing so, you became unreachable to people who only knew how to connect through drama. They're watching your lifestyle shift, watching your mindset evolve, watching you invest in peace, purpose, and power. And they hate it because they can't fake it. You didn't just rise financially, you rose mentally, emotionally, energetically. And now You lead not just with your words, but with your walk. You were never meant to play small, and deep down, even your haters know it. That's why they keep your name hot. That's why they watch your stories in silence. That's why they mimic your tone, your content, your moves, hoping to capture a spark of what you built from the ground up. But the truth is, they can copy the style, but they'll never replicate the source. Because your results weren't made from noise, they were made from vision and follow-through. You earned everything they envy. And the more they talk, the more they expose themselves. So let them watch, let them wonder, let them choke on their assumptions. Because while they spiral in envy, you keep expanding, you keep stacking, you keep leading. You don't need to prove anything. Your growth is the proof. You're not just building wealth, you're building legacy. You're not just leading others, you're leading yourself. That's why you're unstoppable. Because your power doesn't come from status. It comes from knowing exactly who you are and refusing to break for people who never tried to understand your worth in the first place. So keep going, keep leading, keep shining in silence and letting your results make the noise. They can't stop what they didn't start. Number 9, elevation. Has a cost, but you're already paid in full. Every level you reach reveals another version of you and another group of people who can't come. Let's be honest, people thought you were done. They thought the rumors, the isolation, the silence, or the setbacks would break you. But what they didn't realize is you were just reloading, resetting, shedding the noise, the weight, and the people who couldn't handle your rise. What you're stepping into now isn't luck, it's earned alignment. It's the result of hard choices, real healing, and the discipline to walk away from anything that didn't serve your next level. The universe saw everything, the private pain, the quiet strength, the moments you didn't clap back because you were focused on building. And now that energy is returning, louder, sharper, higher. The shifts are happening, and not everyone's meant to come with you. But that's not a loss. It's a release. When you're ascending, things fall away. People detach. Timelines split. Not because you're above them, but because you're no longer accessible to what you've outgrown. Some are facing the weight of what they did to you, not because you wished it on them, but because the universe balances itself. You didn't have to lift a finger. The energy speaks. The same ones who laughed are now looking for answers. The ones who tried to block you are hitting walls they built themselves. What they threw at you is circling back, and they're realizing you weren't just protected, you were untouchable. Your name, still in their mouths. Your life, still on their radar. But your access, denied. Because elevation changes everything. Not just the view, but the vibration. And with every level you rise, you become clearer, stronger, louder without even speaking. You're stepping into a phase where things that used to shake you now barely get your attention. You're done defending your growth to people who stayed stuck on purpose. And that's the part they never prepared for. Your evolution has no off switch. Every time you level up, you get lighter, sharper, more dangerous to the systems that once controlled you. They thought you needed them. They thought you'd beg for closure, but you moved on without a scene. And that silent exit, that's what's haunting them now. You're stepping into a new rhythm, a higher lane, The energy around you is shifting because you're no longer trying to survive. You're learning how to thrive, and the ones who still move from ego, fear, or competition, they can't breathe where you're headed. You're walking in clarity now, in alignment, in full momentum. You may not have seen the full picture yet, but it's already unfolding, slowly, strategically, one aligned opportunity after another, one closed door revealing a better one real connection replacing 5 fake ones. The universe is doing what it always does when someone steps fully into purpose. It clears the way. This new season, it's not about proving anything. It's about becoming everything you already knew you were. Without doubt, without delay, without the people who once made you feel like you had to shrink. Your circle may look different now, smaller, quieter, but it's solid. You've exchanged noise for clarity, chaos for focus. You're not looking back because forward is finally loud enough to follow. And listen, you don't owe anyone an explanation for why you're glowing, why you're unavailable, why you're choosing peace over performance. Let them wonder, let them speculate. While they're caught up in conversations, you're caught up in your calling. So say it for yourself, out loud if you have to. I'm not shrinking anymore. I'm not apologizing for my evolution. I'm not watering down my truth just to keep shallow people comfortable. I'm only going up from here. This next chapter is not just survival, it's expansion. The real you, fully seen, fully free, the version they hoped would never show up. But it's too late now. You're already rising.